As I've alluded to in earlier slides, we had a big changeover to a new crash report form January 1st, 2017. Prior to that, we had what was called the Motor Vehicle 4000, or the MV 4000. It was this lovely Scantron sheet that you'll see on the left-hand side where officers got to fill in the bubbles, and then it was sent into the department to be scanned into the database. With that, it's been the same since 1994 until we updated the crash report form in 2017. We also wanted to look at is doing an instruction manual. So what we saw was that in the bottom right-hand side here, you can see this little picture of a vehicle and a law enforcement officer. That was primarily the training resource for Wisconsin officers. It was last updated in 1998. When we looked at the definitions that were in that report and kind of what we were seeing on the crash report form, we saw brief and vague kind of definitions concerning engineering fields. There was no baseline definition of when to flag hills or curves, poor definition of traffic barrier, and no discussion of roundabouts. What we saw here was that as we looked to, say, for example, a dedicated right turn lane, as an engineer, you may not think of that as a typical curve. But as you think about from maybe a law enforcement perspective, that roadway was curving around there. And so we did see information flagged as a curve when it was really just a dedicated right turn lane. So when we moved over, we went from some paper copies and electronic copies of the crash report form. When we moved over January 1st, 2017, we went to 100% electronic reporting. Over 550 law enforcement agencies submit to WisDOT via TRACS. TRACS stands for the Traffic and Criminal Software System. Prior to this, we might have been asked from researchers to show a blank crash report. Because it is all electronic and the fields open and close based on kind of some pointer fields, a blank crash report form is not available. The report is created dynamically based on the crash type and other details. So this is something good just to know because you may be asked about providing a blank crash report form at some point in time. When we updated the crash report form, the DT4000, we also went to electronic on what's called the DT4002, which is the driver self-report. Okay, so the idea here is that the definition of when the law requires a crash report is the same. So whether it is a 4000 or a 4002, it is the same definition: an injury or person, damage of $1,000 or more to any one person's vehicle or property, or damage of $200 or more to state or other government-owned property other than a vehicle. The 4000 is law enforcement reported. 4002 is self-reporting. When we think about our engineering studies and our other studies, we usually just look at our 4000s, but sometimes it's useful to look at our 4002s as well too. So this is when a law enforcement does not file the report, that kind of goes along with it. If it is a multi-vehicle crash, so say driver A and driver B get in a crash, and law enforcement does not come out to the scene because they are busy with other things, so maybe a snow emergency or a weather emergency or something else that's happening, and they can't get there, they'll say you should fill out a crash report form. And driver A may fill out a 4002. If driver B forgets to fill it out, an automatic letter gets sent out to them that says you, driver B, were reported to be in a crash with driver A. Driver A submitted this 4002. Please go in and submit yours as well too, so that we have a kind of a complete picture of what's going on with it. What you can see down below here is the reports submitted. So for the 4002s in 2017, there was just over 12,000. In 2018, there was just over 13,000. The DT4000 reports that were submitted in 2017, there was about 140,000. In 2018, about 144,000 DT4000s. So again, while we're going to mostly use the 4000s for our engineering studies, it's also important to know kind of where some of the other data sets are and might be useful to look at. The 4002 is, again, another information. We have to be a little bit careful because it is a self-report. So you may have issues with, drivers, they're not law enforcement. They're not going to look at it unbiased when they're reporting their crash. The DT4002s are available on the Wisconsin Department of Transportation website there. It's in that Start Now button that you can click in and be able to get that information. It looks similar to this. It has a lot of the same information as what we see on the crash report form. It does have a narrative associated with it. It doesn't have the sequence of events or things of that sort, but it does give some basic information, as well as the ability to put down any diagram or narrative that goes along with it. Another form to be kind of thinking about and looking at is a DT3480. Similarly, before 2017, we had a fatal supplement as well. It was called the MV3480. If you're curious about where those initials come through, when the MVs were created, it was a form number from the Division of Motor Vehicles. And so we're thinking about that was where the MV came from, the motor vehicle form. When we switched over to the new crash database, we went to more of this department form. So that's where the DT comes from, okay? So this is the DOT form that goes along with it. So you can think about it more as kind of that holistic approach. So the DT3480 is a fatal supplement. You know, you might ask yourself the question of why is there a fatal supplement? And when we were redoing the crash report form and working with law enforcement officers, we asked if we can include a lot of this information in the regular crash report form in the 4000 one, but what we found out is that some of this information may be collected afterwards by a different officer, so they wanted the ability to be able to submit the 4000 at one time and then submit some more information in the 3480 at a different time, maybe from a different officer. So you can see information that has, you know, what was there any attempted avoidance maneuvers, what was the pre-impact stability, kind of looking at it from that regard. The MV4000 to DT4000s. When we think about this, WisTransPortal only includes reportable crashes. So this is going to be only including the DT4000s that are labeled as reportable. Some other issues with this are kind of things that might not be in there. The Menominee tribe, which is a non-PL280 tribe, does not report crashes to State Patrol in the Wisconsin Crash Database. They do report fatalities, but not any other injury severities. The 4002s are not included in WisTransPortal, and the 3480s will eventually be included with the DT4000s in WisTransportal. At this time, on December of 2019, they're not there, but they will be there in the future. As we went to our new form, we wanted to make sure that we had minimal impact to law enforcement, so we tried to make sure that the form transmission process stayed the same. We wanted to improve the automation up front, so improving those validation steps. We did make a requirement for electronic reporting. It was really important to have this kind of maintain the communication and feedback during the process of it. We wanted to make sure all of their other kind of their time and Wisconsin.gov accesses remained unchanged, and then we would make changes to the data extract and WisTransportal on the kind of back end side of things a little bit. We wanted to weed out fields that had become obsolete and identify others that were not being collected, for example, roundabouts or cell phone usage. We tried to make the forms more intuitive, and then we also made them more dynamic. So if you do not have a work zone crash, those work zone elements and attributes will not show up on the crash report form. So it is kind of a dynamic form that opens up different fields depending on what your different crash is. When we trained law enforcement, we had over 1,000 law enforcement officers that we trained, over 1,000 hours. We have lots of different documentation that goes along with it. And the website below shows that documentation that goes along with what we trained them on and the PowerPoints that went along with it. As we think about reviewing the crash report form and what it looks like, so this is what a law enforcement officer will see. This is the TRAX form. As you can see in the top the top center part here, you can see the information with regards to the injury severity. So that's the element, and then the attributes are down below that. They can either use the mouse and click on that and then move to the next, or use the tab button to be able to do that. So it is kind of all electronic here. If they have a question about what this field means or what the element means, they can either use that field help kind of button that's on the left-hand side of that center rectangle, or they can press F2 and it comes up with some more information. So it has built-in help screens that can be accessed by data field by pressing the F2 key. Help is available for each of the forms within the suite and each of the elements. So this is something we're always trying to improve as you're looking at the crash data and you're seeing maybe some discrepancies in how you think a field should be looked at or filled out, and you look at the muck definitions and you agree with that. You can always ask to see the F2 help. What's really beneficial is that if we show examples of how it should be filled out. So if you have any of these examples, please send them on to the state traffic safety engineer so we can be able to look at trying to improve the data that goes along with this. So for that same field that I showed before, that injury severity, we pressed F2 help. This is what comes up. So it talks about what the injury severity level is for the person involved in the crash, determination of what that attribute should be, and then also those definitions that we went through it a little bit.